Hello everyone, hope you guys are having a great weekend. Welcome to another episode of Wasted Wanderers. These are your hosts, JD and Abi. Nice to be meeting everyone. Let us know what you guys think of our new intro. We're trying out something new with our logo and, kind of trying to match up the brand vibe with that. So yeah, do leave a comment about that. But yeah, without wasting anyone else's time, or anyone's time rather, let's jump right into it. So first up, we have a pretty sad news from Canada. Um, Deported student linked to BC extortion shooting, say federal documents. Um, at this point, whoever has been following, the Canadian news cycle closely, such type of news and events became very, very common, uh, especially during the previous administration. This kind of news has been dropping over the past 1 year or so, a little over that. But obviously, it's not gone away yet. Now, if you guys go down and read this article in detail, it turns out this person, he's from Punjab in India. I'm not going to pull any punches. Yeah, he came to Columbia College here in Vancouver on a study permit. Now, it got extended, and this person has failed 3 semesters, I think. And then he changed the story that, okay, I failed 1 semester, and then I I didn't do well in 1 semester because of a car accident of some sort or not. In this story, there are two jeeps involved, and of course, there's a whole extortion angle where this person fired shots at this home in Surrey to try and get money or get this person to pay back. And get this, not even for himself or anything. He was doing the dirty work for someone else. So, needless to say, such Indians are a very, very, and please note the sarcasm, such Indians are a very, very positive asset to the Canadian community and the Indian community, right? Like, we just cannot get much better than this. This guy's
See,
name is Lovebeer Singh. He has love in his name, and he has demonstrated one of the highest pinnacles of love possible. I mean, I don't know what's better than this when it comes to love, right? When I was growing up in India, my mom would tell me that there are, two types of kids. One is, you should hang out with them, they will add something to your life, you should go and become friends with them. And the other one was, okay, stay away from them, they're not good for you, they're not good for society, etc., etc. The usual spiel that comes out, okay, stay away from the bad guys, go hang out with the good guys. I can safely say that this guy falls in the latter category, and it's shocking and also sad to just see people like this make it over here, right? Sometimes we hear on the internet that the US screening system is overkill. Why do you need an interview for a visitor visa? Why do you need an interview for a student visa? Why do you need an interview for green card? And then why do you need an interview for citizenship? Well, here is why you need that. And here is where, at least right now, Canada is still falling short. I don't know if there are interviews in place for visitors, students. I have no idea. Full disclosure, I came here straight on PR. Those days, I actually didn't have an interview. And yeah, I was letting. But I think we as a country need to come up with a more robust system on screening people. And uh, it needs to get less nicer. right? Canada has this image of being a very nice country. It's true, it is a very nice country. People are largely very nice. Even though such type of news shows up, it doesn't show up even all over the Vancouver area. You only hear this kind of news largely out of Surrey, unless I'm not following the other suburbs that closely, but you'll hear such news largely coming out of Surrey and, sometimes sort of south of the Fraser and farther east from Surrey, right? You'll hear such stuff on and off. But again, we all know what kind of ghettoization is happening in certain suburbs. Um, Surrey being one, Brampton being the other one. Um, it, I mean, you can't change this situation overnight. I do hope that this individual is downright just deported. It looks like he was deported, so that's a good thing. I see that as a positive sign. I hope we see many more to come. Recently, Premier EB made a statement saying that in February we came down to just one case of extortions. While that is a good overall statistic, if you compare it to, let's say January and the months before that, overall it's still one too many. And I hope that when the March data comes out, we are down to zero, right? Personal experience, since the Caps Cafe incident happened last year, we we have decided to, limit our visits to Surrey as much as possible. It's simply put, it's scary, right? We restrict ourselves to, some well-known areas. We don't go out into areas we have no idea about. But again, it just, as a very Indian community city with a massive concentration of Indians, it just doesn't speak well for us. When we leave our home country, regardless of whether we naturalize or not, we are always gonna be representatives of our home culture. And everyone, not just Indians, but primarily Indians because of this article, but we need to remember that we are representing our home culture just as much as we represent our adopted countries. JD, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I was reading the news and looks like again this is one of those cases where he entered the country on a student permit. The permit expired in 2025 and then he was granted an extension which was supposed to expire in 2027. So it's not also that he came as an illegal immigrant. He came legally. He attended the Columbia College, some private institution near Main Street in Vancouver. So this is not the New York Columbia University. This is just some Columbia College. Um, who knows how good is it or what does it do? But looks like he used to live in a house shared with the owners of the vehicle linked with the shooting and received $1,200 a month in disability EI. Like that is just crazy. So he was living here using a card of his landlord, getting disability checks from our tax money, and then going around and doing all this gang related violence. Like that is crazy. Um, Abhijit and me, we also came as immigrants to Canada, but it's crazy that Canada is attracting these kind of immigrants, right? Uh, Usually, there are two classes you can say of immigrants that come to Canada. So one are the highly educated advanced degree holders like Abhijit and me. We come in, we have engineering backgrounds, and we go pay taxes, do our jobs, and drive innovation. Educated, and that kind of immigrants are what Canada needs. And there's the other type, which is uh, just people coming in, taking advantage of the immigration system, finding loopholes and coming in and then doing these shady activities. So there's extortion happening everywhere. Um, I know there were a lot of cases in Surrey related to these Canadian Punjabi rock stars who are very famous in India and Canada, and they were being extorted. You know, there were drive-by shootings at their houses. Uh, so it's just a extortion game. It's like, hey, you pay us the money or we'll shoot your house here. We'll try and uh, mess with your family back home in Punjab in India. And it's, as Abhijit said, it's not a good look. um, Even when I was in Vancouver, I would also limit my visits to Surrey, because uh, you could make out that this is not uh, some parts of Surrey were not good areas. Like you could sense, like, because I've lived in Chicago also, and I've been to the south side of Chicago, and that's what it was reminding me of. And south side of Chicago is very scary. Um, there have been reports of extortion on restaurants and businesses. So if you open a restaurant there or a business there, it's like a mafia kind of environment, like straight from the Godfathers in Italy in early 1900s. And I don't know how or why like Canada has stooped to this level, that you're allowing uh, immigrants like this to come to Canada and do all this, because it's not a good look for us immigrants who actually can add value to Canada. So please do the due diligence. Do not allow these kind of folks to come in. And if you catch them, don't set them free after a bail or anything. Deport them, because it's a very good thing to set an example like this. So yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts on this matter.
Yeah, to be fair, seeing we're seeing an improvement over the past 6 to 8 months, especially. The international student permits were restricted to 150K a year. We have seen a correction in the rental market, the housing market, and all the other areas where Canadians were hurting. This kind of article just says that there is some more work to be done, and let's just hope it just continues in this direction, that some nonsense happens and the person's deported. There should be zero tolerance for breaking the law, at least, especially with such an offense. There should be zero tolerance for it. Yeah, someone got a parking ticket, that's different. But yeah, someone with a weapon, it should just be illegal for non PRs and citizens to even hold a gun. It's anyways very difficult for citizens to get any firearms in Canada. In my opinion, it should just not be allowed for anyone who's not legally like a PR or a citizen here. That's just my take. Anyways, guys, let's get to the next one. We want to keep this short, sweet, and insightful while it lasts. Um, let's go here. JD, kick us off.
Yeah, so I don't know about you, Abhijit, but I've started to feel recently that YouTube ads are just getting a little bit more annoying and a little bit longer than they used to be. So this report is specifically about YouTube ads, which are about to get even longer. So, if you can imagine, right now, you have certain ads that are unskippable. So, you see those 3 seconds or 5 second unskippable ads. So, they are set to increase. And it's very interesting because YouTube, when it started, it was free essentially. There were no ads on YouTube. And now I read somewhere that YouTube accounts for, I think, 15 or 20% of worldwide consumption of video or content. So now they have captured the market, and they've also moved to the living room. So now you can see YouTube TV, like on your TV. And now they are reinstating the 30-second unskippable format uh, that used to be the norm when we had cable. So what we are watching is what people are calling enshittification. So that's a term which means tech companies gave out things for free at first, and then they slowly shitify the product itself just to earn more revenue. So I think that's what's happening with YouTube. It's a classic bait and switch. They use the freedom of the internet to build this monopoly over content, and now they're using this monopoly to force us back to the 1990s broadcast model. So that is one point. And another point I want to make is they are slowly doing this because they are trying to promote something called YouTube Premium, which they want to uh, promote because it gives them direct ad revenue, and they're making this free experience intentionally insufferable, uh, especially in TVs where it's not easy to install ad blockers, which we can talk about that also. And they're turning this platform into pay to not be annoyed service, which is a shift from value add service that was there before. So it's basically, hey, you don't want to see annoying ads, you need to pay us. So yeah, so in summary, like YouTube ads are just getting longer, and they're going to get longer and more longer and unskippable. And YouTube is literally doing A and B testing to make us get comfortable with all this. But I don't like where this is going, Abhijit. I don't know about you.
I think as millennials, we are a very fortunate generation to have seen the rise and, I guess, fall of innovation, of an innovation cycle within our quote unquote conscious lifetimes, right? You cross the age of 6, 7, you start making memories. And what I remember, and I'm sure JD you as well, right? Um, we see that okay, cable is getting annoying. There used to be this channel. I think it still exists in India. It's called Sony Max, and they would play this one horrifying movie over and over again. And every ad run used to be like 4 or 5 minutes. So if your movie is like 2.5, 3 hours, the slot on which it'll play is like 4.5 hours, and the rest of it is just ads, 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 ads. It got frustrating. In came Blockbuster, started giving out, renting out DVDs, CDs, VHS, whatever. So you could just get it, watch it, give it back to them. Comes Netflix, says, okay, we'll start shipping DVDs to your address so you don't even have to go to a store. Or you could just go to a kiosk back in 2015, 2016 era. I used to live in Oklahoma, and I forgot, there's a store chain in Oklahoma, and they would have like a Netflix box you could just rent out, watch a movie, and just push it back into that same box. And then came streaming. Huge relief for everyone. Started at $8. We all know where Netflix is these days. When it comes to YouTube, I was one of the earliest adopters. I actually wanted to start my channel. I think YouTube Premium as a service came out in 2016. Not 2017. Yeah. I went on to it. I was like, okay, because I had already become, you could call it a semi podcast junkie by then. So I was pretty happy to see, okay, there's a way that I don't have to worry about ads. I can, turn off the phone screen and, the videos will still keep running. And to be fair to YouTube, the quantum of knowledge I have on things, on current affairs, global current affairs, has gone up magnificently since YouTube Premium came out. I cannot deny that. But going back to my earlier point, now we are getting back into that space where overall the technology was great and now they just don't have a choice but to start. I don't know about choice, okay? I haven't read these financial statements, but they're just trying to make more money. They're going for the promise of a shareholder model that they got to give back the returns to the shareholders. I actually won't be surprised that eventually YouTube gets spun off as its own company. I think last year or the year before that, there was some noise that uh, the government would try to break up Google and YouTube will be its own company. And then you keep hearing same nonsense about Meta that WhatsApp may become its own company. But so apart from all that, at some point, all these streaming services, the only way they'll make money is through ads, and they'll try to make your life as miserable as possible without you getting the subscription. But let's get real. I mean, even just on YouTube, there are all videos about Pirate Bay coming back to life and all these torrent services that all the early 2000s kids know, right? Like LimeWire and all that nonsense. That's coming back to life. Let's get real. IPTV exists, and there are ways to watch it. So that's what I mean by full circle. Now, essentially, we are getting to a point where we don't need a cable connection. So that's one less wire coming into our house. So that's one good thing. But now we are saddled with this barrage of subscriptions where everyone's just getting mentally fatigued. Not just YouTube or streaming services, even fucking software. Microsoft Office decided to increase their personal 365 subscription fee on a before tax basis by 45%. That's when I personally gave up and went to LibreOffice. And I called up my friend and Microsoft said, I'm canceling this. What rubbish. Right? And it's the same thing here. It's a pattern. People will figure out. Like, even for videos, there are alternative platforms. Like, there's Rumble, there is Nebula, there's Curiosity Stream, there is Twitch if you want to just do audio. Spotify has exclusive podcasts. Again, I have no idea about Spotify. I think they also play ads in some form, but you know, it. I think this is a calculated risk on their end. I haven't seen an increase in YouTube premium fees tagged on to this news. I think in terms of CAD, we are sitting at 15 a month, which I think is okay because I do use YouTube so much, not just of course, from a creator perspective, but also from a entertainment perspective. Like I'm literally like a YouTube junkie in that sense. So yeah, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I don't even think there's a point in feeling bad about this because all streaming services end up at this point. And all this basically proves to us that technology by itself does not make our lives better or worse. In fact, on balance, technology may help you accomplish one small task in an easier way, but overall, in the grand scheme of things, your life just gets shittier. Right? Just because computers came in doesn't mean our workloads decreased. They actually exponentially increased to the point that people like JD and I, we think of 10-hour days as pretty normal. Right? It's almost a good day that we finished off our work in 9 to 10 hours. Yeah, that's my
Jeez.
take. Like, I've stopped feeling good or bad about these things. I'm like, okay, if it gets to a point where it's too annoying, I'll just try to find an alternative and just live with it. Like, in my personal life, I'm actively working on cutting down subscriptions. Like, I just gave up Google Drive recently. Obviously, Microsoft 365 Personal gone. Next one will be Apple because, cloud storage 2 terabyte per month at 50 CAD. Okay, time to move to a home lab, right? So I think we as consumers, we'll just have to start getting more and more in tuned to how technology helps us and not run away from learning new things on how to make it cheaper for ourselves. I think the whole laziness around, oh, I'll just subscribe to this and watch it, that's where the business model gets you. It's the same thing with this concept of serverless that you see all over cloud platforms. The cloud platform comes and tell you, we'll manage everything. You don't have to worry about anything. You can just run your damn Python function and then they'll increase the price because you don't understand how to manage your own backend anymore. So what started off as a cost saving for you is now actually a cost increase for you. And you're back to that point, okay, I need to really optimize my hardware, even maybe move back on prem or get into a hybrid setup. I see this in enterprise all the time. So yeah, be it B2B or B2C, I think millennials are a lucky generation to have seen the exponential rise of internet and now just, customer exhaustion.
Yeah, yeah. And uh, one, two things I want to say before we move on to the next story is I also canceled Netflix because there is just so much content to consume these days that it doesn't make sense to subscribe to every streaming service. Like there was a time when I could just subscribe to Netflix and it had all the shows and movies that I wanted to watch. But now, it's like scattered to like 20 different subscriptions, and I can't do that. Um, I mean, people forget that streaming used to be free. Um, like there used to be ad free, and the only reason it was ad free was these companies were trying to get new users onto their platform. Piracy used to be a big issue back in the day, and it was a byproduct of inconvenience. So if you make anything hard to watch, either through ads or through subscription or through paywalls, people are going to pirate your content. That's a given. Now, the difference between YouTube and other streaming services is, unlike other streaming services, YouTube does not need to license a lot of content. They don't need to pay a lot of money to these Hollywood studios to get the content. Uh, Makers, content creators like us, Abhijit, we do the content for YouTube, and YouTube does this algorithm magic, and then you could people could reach us out. There's a long tail of content out in at YouTube, and actually YouTube is the 800-pound gorilla right now. So I was just looking at the numbers for YouTube. uh, their 2025 revenue, $40 billion, right? And I mean, if you account for everything, it's around $60 billion in revenue, which is more than Disney, and which is more than Netflix. So it makes it the largest media entity by revenue in the world. Now that's crazy. And as for the subscribers, there are around 325 million paid subscriptions. That's, I think, around or more than Netflix. And it is the number one streaming service on TV, more than Netflix, more than any other uh, subscription. So, and that has been true for 3 years now. So that's another data point I wanted to leave out with. Basically, to end, I want to say that the content, Hollywood content, or any media content is getting commoditized. So it's the race to the bottom. And because of that, YouTube is the winner because it's the 800-pound gorilla.
All right, guys, we could go on about this topic for a long time, but let's get to the next one. Uh, yeah, Ontario. Ontario's payout to Elon Musk over cancelled Starlink contract to remain secret. Um, Actually, when I saw this, I didn't feel that surprised. Like, why would the premier of a province come out and tell the people how they use the taxpayers' money and how they burnt it in a deal that never happened? So, I think, look, there was a deal with Starlink, it fell flat. I think the Doug Ford government actually felt that they could finish laying out their fiber cables all across northern Ontario. I think the one challenge that remains is the ring of fire, and there's a whole section of Ontario forests which are prone to forest fires, and that's why it's called a ring of fire. For those who may not know, I also find it very, well, stupid that there is a company called Telesat in Canada that's doing the same thing as Starlink. Why would a provincial government of Canada go to a US company, especially when there are homegrown alternatives? To me, this reeks of nonsense like Arrive Can, which cost $60 million to make, a freaking app that, JD, you know more about software engineers, but please tell me, if you had to write an app like Arrive Can using the MERN stack, how long will it take? Mongo, Express, React, Node,
And how
right?
much would it cost?
How much will it cost? Like, you could probably have it up and running, testing included, production ready in 6 months. But we are where we are, right? Second one, if I may add, the whole COVID vaccine situation. Labs in Montreal came and told the previous administration that they can actually produce the vaccines for the whole population. But no, Canada gave contracts to Pfizer and Moderna. Again, I took the Moderna vaccine myself. I don't have anything for or against it. It's a vaccine. You need it. All I'm saying is, why do Canadian politicians continuously prioritize foreign companies when there are domestic alternatives? I have often, at least even on my over here and on my own channel, I've always screamed and shouted to the Canadian administration to make the environment more business friendly. One story is, okay, taxes are too high, so companies leave. The second story is, just because you are a foreign brand, you just get more recognition in Canada itself. This is the same thing as what India was doing for the longest time. You have domestic defense contractors, but they were not getting orders in India. Once they would sell to some foreign entity, then they would get recognition in India. The same thing we're doing here in Canada. And I find it, well, stupid is an understatement. I find it loathsome. Why are Canadians not being encouraged by their own administration to, be at the cutting edge of technology? All the big AI names, Jeffrey Hinton, Joshua Bengio, two of the biggest names in AI, are actually Canadian. But all we hear about is Chinese LLMs and American LLMs. I have nothing against them. The bloody thumbnail for this episode was generated on ChatGPT. I don't have anything against it. I use it. All I'm saying is when the basics were researched here, why don't we have a Canadian LLM? Suddenly you have an administration that's coming and casting aspersions or taking over the country, 51st state. We all know the news cycle. So suddenly a little bit of patriotism shows up, and then we see news like this. See, okay, the contract was worth $100 million. Fine. You cancel a contract, maybe you'll pay 50 million. Who knows? I'm just putting a number. That number itself is actually not that big a deal. $50 million for Ontario, not that bad. Not the worst thing that could have happened. To me, the bigger part is that there were domestic alternatives where you did not have to traverse such murky waters. You could have just avoided this whole fiasco altogether. And you didn't. JD, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think this story is a classic case of incompetence and short sightedness. I think what happened is there was a time when Starlink and SpaceX and Elon Musk were cool. And if you made any deal with them, it seemed cool. It would get you clicks, it would get you news, it would get you to the front page. From what I've seen, Ontario's premier is very addicted to the news cycle. He likes to be in news. He likes to say things that come in news. So maybe that's why he signed it. But that is fine. It would have been good if he signed it and it actually had a ironclad clause that said, if you don't deliver the service, give us 100 million or whatever the breakup fee is, right? And it looks like the cancelled contract will remain a secret after both sides agree to a confidential settlement. I mean, this points to two things that could have happened. One, the contract was not ironclad, so that means SpaceX Starlink could just get out of the contract, didn't need to pay a dime. And the Ford government did not want the public to see that, and that's why they kept it confidential. Uh, the second reason could be because Elon Musk, as you know, is very close to the current administration. Doug Ford does not want to ruffle any feathers, specifically because there are going to be a lot of trade negotiations happening between US and Canada soon. I think July or August is when they're going to start. So he does not want to preempt anything right now. There's also some issue going on with the new cross border bridge in Ontario uh, that Trump does not want to open. So I think he does not want to ruffle some feathers. So whatever they decided, I am assuming it's going to be, hey, you don't talk about this in the news, and you don't have to pay a dime. Just let's keep it confidential. So I think that's what happens. But again, that's bring us back to this short-sightedness, this thing where like these provincial governments and government of Canada does is go after the shiny thing, and when it actually requires investment or actually requires getting things done, then they go, they don't do it. There is some corruption, there's some bloat in the system, as you mentioned, Abhijit. But again, as you also know, I also know, like, AI requires a lot of investments. It's not peanuts. So if the government wants to go in, it needs to go in all in. And I don't know what happened in this case, but yeah, I think we will never know because it's confidential again. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
I mean, I can understand if you want to have government sponsored models. India is doing that. They have a model, they have a family of models available for everyone to use. You could try and mimic that model if you wanted, right? You want to be socialist, fine, you can be socialist in AI. At least to some extent, people will accept it. And then you can have success stories like Sarva May I show up. Um, but overall, there is a yeah, we just need to see more agility across all levels of the administration, not just the top 5 6 people at the federal level. We need the provinces to also pull their weight, especially a province like Ontario, which is probably the most it's probably the most affluent province, maybe second to Alberta, depending on per capita. But um, anyways, guys, we can keep talking about this for a long time, and this is an endless discussion. Let's give you a sneak peek to our, you know, to a slightly funny article. We'll probably go over this next week in more detail. But yeah, it turns out you don't need AI to resurrect people. And yeah, apart from all the amazing things that you see coming out of India, like yeah, India has figured out resurrection, like, and this is all a part of a multi-layered thought process which results in such amazing innovation, right? So yeah, we'll cover this at the beginning of the next episode if you want to see us dissect this. But for today, time to sign off, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe, and let us know what you like, let us know what you don't like. All feedback is welcome. Please spread the news, please spread the message. Have a great rest of the weekend. See you guys next week.
See ya.